Imagine walking into a store, handing over your hard-earned money for a bag of chips, and the cashier just takes 5 chips out before giving you the bag. You'd be furious, right? So why do we put up with it when companies do it? Corporations have figured out the perfect crime, charging you the same price while giving you less product. And it's not just a few sneaky companies. This is a coordinated assault on American families that's been happening for years. While you're getting less food, less toilet paper, and smaller everything, these same companies are posting record profits, and their CEOs are getting massive bonuses. In 2024 alone, CEO compensation jumped nearly 10%, while corporate profits drove over half of all inflation. This is theft in broad daylight, and by the end of this video, you'll never look at grocery shopping the same way again. Let's start with the smoking guns. In October 2024, Senator Elizabeth Warren and Representative Madeleine Dean sent letters to 3 of America's biggest food companies, Coca-Cola, PepsiCo, and General Mills, demanding answers about their shrinkflation practices, and the evidence they uncovered is pretty damning. PepsiCo quietly replaced their 32-ounce Gatorade bottles with 28-ounce bottles for the same price. That's a 14% price increase per ounce that they never told you about. General Mills shrunk their Cocoa Puffs family-size boxes from 19.3 ounces to 18.1 ounces with no price reduction. That's the same price for 6% less cereal in every box. But here's the most outrageous example. Frito-Lay started putting 5 fewer Doritos in every regular-size bag. 5 chips doesn't sound like much, right? Wrong. While we don't have the exact savings figure for Doritos specifically, similar changes have proven massively profitable. When Lay's reduced their regular bags by half an ounce in 2014, industry analysis showed this could save tens of millions annually. This isn't limited to snacks. A lending tree analysis found that 1/3 of roughly 100 common consumer products have shrunk since the pandemic. The worst offenders? Household paper products like toilet paper and paper towels. 60% of these products have reduced their sheet count while keeping prices the same. We're talking about everything from M&M's family packs shrinking from 10.07 ounces to 10 ounces, to Tide detergent boxes dropping from 254 ounces to 232 ounces. These companies are systematically giving you less while charging you the same or more. Now, when confronted about these practices, these companies always have the same excuses ready. Supply chain disruptions, rising costs, inflation pressures, consumer preferences for smaller portions. Let me tell you why every single one of these justifications is complete garbage. First, the supply chain excuse. Yes, there were supply chain issues during the pandemic, but shrinkflation has accelerated throughout 2023 and 2024. Long after supply chains normalized. If costs were truly driving this, prices should have come down as supply chains recovered. Instead, shrinkflation got worse. Second, the inflation excuse. While companies claim rising costs force them to shrink products, corporate profits have been driving more than half of all inflation. A Groundwork collaborative study found that from April to September 2023, corporate profits drove 53% of inflation. Compare that to the 40 years before the pandemic, when profits drove just 11% of price growth. Third, the consumer preferences lie. PepsiCo actually tried to defend their 28-ounce Gatorade bottles by claiming it was part of a long-term strategy to offer varied portion preferences. This is marketing speak for, we think you're too stupid to notice we're ripping you off. But here's the smoking gun that exposes their real motivation. While these companies were shrinking products and claiming financial hardship, they were paying virtually no taxes. From 2018 to 2022, Coca-Cola made $13.4 billion in profits, but paid just 13.5% in federal taxes. PepsiCo made $22.4 billion and paid only 15%. General Mills made $12 billion and paid 14.8%. To put this in perspective, the average American paid a 14.9% tax rate in 2021, meaning most working families are paying higher tax rates than these billion-dollar corporations that are literally stealing food out of your shopping cart. Let's talk about what's really driving shrinkflation, and I'm sure you've already guessed. It's pure, unadulterated corporate greed. During the pandemic recovery period, while companies claimed rising costs, corporate profits consistently outpaced employee compensation increases by significant margins. Corporate profit margins hit over 15% in 2023, a level not seen since the 1950s. Meanwhile, CEO compensation has exploded. In 2024, the typical CEO compensation package jumped nearly 10% as stock prices and corporate profits soared. And for the cherry on top, research from the Federal Reserve Bank of Kansas City found that corporate profits accounted for nearly 60% of inflation in 2021. 2021. Normally, profits contribute less than a third to inflation. This isn't companies struggling to survive. This is companies exploiting a crisis to pad their bottom lines, while American families struggle to afford groceries. And where are those record profits going? Not to workers and definitely not to price reductions for consumers. According to Forbes, companies are using them mainly to pay dividends to their shareholders and building up their stockpiles of cash. They're literally hoarding wealth while families skip meals. The Federal Reserve Bank of San Francisco found that even though supply chain costs have normalized and producer prices have actually decreased for many commodities, corporations have failed to pass these savings to consumers. They're keeping the pandemic-era prices while their costs have gone down. So what does this actually mean for American families? Obviously, it's less product for more money, but it gets worse. The numbers are staggering and heartbreaking. Shrinkflation drove between 3.3% and 10.3% of grocery price inflation among national grocery brands. For household paper products, the absolute necessities like toilet paper, shrinkflation caused a 10.3% price increase. For snacks, it was 9.8%. For coffee, 7.2%. Here's how this translates to real dollars. According to Republican analysis from the Senate Agriculture Committee, American households are spending significantly more per month just to maintain the same food basket they bought in January 2021. Cumulatively, families have spent more than $2,900 extra on food since the current administration began. That's nearly $3,000 in additional costs per household. But shrinkflation makes budgeting even harder because it's hidden. When prices go up, you can see it and adjust your budget. But when you're getting less for the same price, it distorts your entire budget without you realizing it. And what has our government done about this systematic theft from American families? Almost nothing. Senator Bob Casey introduced the Shrinkflation Prevention Act in February 2024, which would give the Federal Trade Commission authority to punish companies engaging in shrinkflation. But it's been sitting in Congress while families continue to get ripped off. Meanwhile, France has already taken action. As of 2024, French retailers must flag to shoppers if a product has been reduced in size without a corresponding price cut. France is protecting their consumers while American politicians debate. The Biden administration has called shrinkflation a ripoff. But words don't put food on the table. We need enforcement, not press releases. But here's the thing. Shrinkflation only works if consumers don't notice or don't fight back. And there are signs that the tide is turning. PepsiCo just announced they're reversing course and adding 20% more chips to some of their larger bags because customers started abandoning their brands for cheaper alternatives. When their sales dropped 1% and snack volumes declined, suddenly they found a way to give consumers more value. Here's how you can fight back immediately. Always check the price per ounce, not just the sticker price. Many stores show this on shelf tags. Use it religiously. Store brands are often less affected by shrinkflation and offer better value. Consumer data shows private label sales have been increasing as shoppers catch on to these tactics. Buy in bulk when possible, but only for non-perishables you'll actually use. Consider joining buying clubs or co-ops to get wholesale pricing. Most importantly, vote with your wallet. When you notice shrinkflation, switch brands. Share your experiences on social media. Companies track customer complaints obsessively, make noise, and politically demand action. Contact your representatives about the Shrinkflation Prevention Act. You can find your representative at usa.gov/elected officials. Support candidates who will stand up to corporate price gouging instead of making excuses for it. The Great American Grocery Heist isn't some abstract economic trend. It's a deliberate strategy by corporations to extract more money from your family while giving you less in return. They're literally stealing from you while posting record profits, paying their CEOs millions in bonuses, and avoiding taxes that working families can't escape. This isn't inflation, it's exploitation. And it's happening because they think you won't notice, won't care, or won't fight back. But every time you check that price per ounce, every time you switch to a brand that gives you actual value, every time you demand transparency, you're fighting back against a system designed to rip you off. Have you noticed shrinkflation affecting products you buy regularly? What's the most outrageous example you've found? Share your experiences in the comments. And if this investigation opened your eyes to how corporations are systematically ripping off American families, hit subscribe, because this is just the beginning of what we need to expose about corporate greed in America.